Hello everyone, welcome to Tech Sharmit. In this session, we will discuss about few more medical terminology related prefixes which were used in order to showcase something as body part, or it will provide the information which is related to body part. Okay. In previous sessions also we have discussed a couple of prefixes which we used in order to denote something as a body part or shape, size, color, direction, movement. Okay, so this session is in the continuation of the same, so we are in part 27. So if you have not covered the previous session, then I would recommend you to go and check out the previous session first, so that it would be much easier for you to understand the further concepts. Okay, because for time being we are just focusing on the part 27, where we are discussing about the prefixes that denotes the information related to body parts. Fine. So how we are going to proceed with this session? First of all, I'll tell you about the prefix, like what is prefix, because some of you are directly referring this session. So I just quickly repeat it, that I will just repeat it like what is the prefix, and after that I'll tell you few prefixes with their meaning, and after after understanding the prefix we will discuss the examples, because without example it would be not that much of easier for us to identify the meaning of terminology in exams or interview questions. Okay, so let's start with the first prefix. So let me start with the prefix, but before that let me explain you the prefix definition. So prefix is a word which attaches at the beginning of any medical terminology, and from there it produces some meaning. It generates some meaning. So that thing is known as prefix. So now let's look at the first prefix, which is related to hemato. Hemato, hemo, yeah, hemat, or hema and hem. So these are the all alternative names for the hemato, or uh, whenever you want to denote something as blood, or whenever there is a discussion related to blood, then in that case we can use these prefixes, which is hem, hema, hemat, hemo, and hemato. Okay, so these are the all alternative names which is always used in order to denote or showcase something as blood. Okay, fine. So now we will see the examples, because this is just a theory thing. So we will go through the examples and we'll try to understand like how these prefixes are used with the medical terminology. So the first terminology is hematocrit. Now what is hematocrit? Hematocrit means the percentage of red blood cells in the total blood volume. So whenever we are calculating the percentage of red blood cell in the total blood volume, then that thing is known as hematocrit. Hematocrit. And this hematocrit terminology is started with the prefix hemato. So as we are discussing related to blood, so hemato prefix is used. Hematocrit. Likewise, if you look at the second example, which is hematogeneous. Now what is hematogeneous? Hematogeneous means something is originated from the blood. It could be any disease, it could be anything. So if something is originated from the blood or originated in the blood, then in that case we will use the terminology hematogeneous. Okay, and hematogeneous is also started with the prefix hemato, because again we are discussing related to the blood itself. Likewise, in some cases, if patient is suffering from a disease where they find the presence of the blood in the urine, then in that case, the terminology is used hematouria. Hematouria, which means there is some presence of the blood in the urine. So for particular diseases, this test is also during the test they found that yes, there is some presence of the blood in the urine. So in that procedure they mention the disease as hematouria. Hematouria means there is something, there is a presence of blood in the urine. Now if you look at the fourth example, this is most commonly used example, which is hemoglobin. Now what is hemoglobin? Hemoglobin means the protein in the red blood cell that carries oxygen. Okay, so such proteins are known as hemoglobin. Hemoglobin means the protein which is present in our red blood cell, and that is responsible for carrying the oxygen throughout the body. So this thing we will term it as hemoglobin. Okay, so now if you look at all the examples again, then you will find one common thing, which is blood. Everywhere we are talking about the blood. So whenever there is a discussion around blood, then in that case we can use any of these prefixes, which is hem, hema, hemat, hemo, and hemato. Okay, so this is all about this prefix. Now we will look at the second prefix. Second prefix is hepato or hepatico. Now what is this? So same as like in previous we discussed about the blood, this time we are discussing about the liver. So if we are discussing about any disease related to liver or any functionality related to liver, then in that case we will use these two prefixes, which is hepat, hepato, or hepatico. For examples, first one is hepatitis. Now what is hepatitis? Hepatitis means inflammation of the liver. Maybe just because of any medical issues or medical concern, if the liver is inflamed, then in that case we will use the terminology hepatitis. Likewise, if you look at the second example, which is hepatobiliary means relating to the liver and the bile duct. So if we are discussing about related to the hepato related to liver or bile duct, then we will use the terminology hepatobiliary. Okay, so hepatobiliary is composed with two words. Hepato is representing the liver and biliary representing the bile duct. So that's why we are saying that it is something related to liver and bile duct. Likewise, if you look at the third example, which is hepatocellular carcinoma. Hepatocellular carcinoma. Now what is this? If you remember, in one of our session we have already discussed about the carcinoma. Carcinoma is related to cancer and hepato is related to liver. So liver cancer that originates in the hepatocyte liver cells. Okay, so when we are discussing regarding the disease which is originated as a cancer from the hepatocytes, then for this thing we will use the terminology hepatocellular carcinoma. Okay, so it is related to liver cell, that's why we are using the prefix hepato. Now in the fourth example we are talking about the hepatocyte. Now what is hepatocyte? It is a liver cell which is responsible for various metabolic function. So those cells which is present in the liver, or you can say the cells of liver which is responsible for the metabolic functions, is known as hepatocyte. So if in that hepatocyte any cancer originated, then we will jump and check the third prefix terminology, which is hepatocellular carcinoma. Okay, so if you look at all the examples again, you will find that only one thing is common, which is liver. Because in every example we are talking about the liver, whether it is inflammation of liver uh, related to the liver and bile duct, or cancer originated from the liver. So these all are the uh, topic which where we are touching the point of liver. So for this we are using the terminology or the prefix hepato and hepatico. Now in the third prefix we are talking about histo or histio, which is related to tissue. So same in the same manner, if we are talking about the tissues, then we will use the prefix histo or histio. First example is histogenesis. Histogenesis means whenever there is a development or formation of tissues, then this process is known as histogenesis. Likewise, if you are studying the form of structure of tissues, then this type of study is known as Histomorphology. Now we will look at the third example, which is histiocyte. Histiocyte means a type of white blood cell that is part of the immune system and plays a role in defending the body against infection. So this type of white blood cell is known as histiocyte, because tissues tissues are there, so that's why we are using the histiocyte terminology, which is composed with the histio prefix. Now in the last example we are talking about the histiocytoma. What is histiocytoma? A benign tumor composed of histiocyte. So whenever the tumor is uh, composed of histiocyte, then this thing is known as histiocytoma. So yeah, These are the all prefix which I would like to share with you all in this session. And for today there is one question like what information is provided by the prefix gesture and clause. If you know the answer of this question, then I request you to put the answer in the comment section. But if you have any difficulty in it, answering it, then I request you to go and check out the previous session, because there we have already discussed this session, these topic in detail. Okay. So yeah, that's all for today. In the next session, we will discuss few more things. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.